Today's lesson, section 2.3, we'll be talking about solving multi-step equations. So for example 1, we'll be using the same thought process we use for solving one-step equations, except since you have two steps to work with, you need to undo what's furthest away from your variable first, and then work your way towards your variable. So here we have 3x plus 8 equals 20. Now, 20 is the furthest away, but also it's on the opposite side of the equal sign of your x value. So we don't have to do anything to 20. It gets to stay. Okay, so never move something that's on the opposite side of your variable towards it. Always move away. So since our x is here, we're going to move everything that way. Okay? Now, we have a 3 and an 8 that are doing some type of operation, or some type of operations connecting it to your variable of x. So I need to undo the furthest thing away. So looking at it here, 3 times x and plus 8. Plus 8 is the furthest away currently. So then undoing a positive 8, I would subtract 8 to both sides. So then 8 minus 8 gives me 0, so I'm left with 3x. And then 20 minus 8 gives me 12. Now all that's left is 3 times x, and to undo multiplication I divide. So I divide by 3 to the left, and divide by 3 to the right. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with x. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I get my answer. Example 2, you have 5 times 2 minus p, and in parentheses, equals negative 30. So here, the furthest thing away is this multiplication of 5. Now there's two different ways of doing this. One, you could distribute the 5 through, and actually I'm going to show you both ways. Okay, so let's say I wanted to distribute 5 through. That would give me 10 minus 5p, which is equal to negative 30. So now the furthest thing away is a positive 10. So then I need to subtract 10 to both sides. So 10 minus 10 leaves me with 0, so I'm left with negative 5p. And negative 30 minus 10 is negative 40. Then, negative 5p equals negative 40. I need to undo multiplication of negative 5 to p, so I need to divide both sides by negative 5. So negative 5 divided by negative 5 is p, and negative 40 divided by negative 5 is 8. Okay, now, doing it the other way, since 5 is the furthest thing away, and I'm multiplying 5 to both 2 minus p, I can undo the multiplication of 5 by dividing both sides by 5. So 5 divided by 5 gets me 1, so I'm left with 2 minus p, and negative 30 divided by 5 is negative 6. Now 2 is the furthest thing away, but 2 is positive, not negative. Remember, the negative is attached to the p, not the 2. So since 2 is positive, I need to subtract both sides by 2. 2 minus 2 is 0, so I'm left with negative p. And negative 6 minus negative 2 gives me negative 8. Now, this value is actually a 1, so negative 1p is, or negative 1 is multiplying to p, so I need to undo that by division. So negative 1 divided by negative 1 is p, which equals 8, because negative 8 divided by negative 1 is positive 8. So notice how I get the same answer. Okay? So two ways of doing it. Choose the one that you would like best. Okay? Now here you have three things attached to n on the left side of your equation. You have this 4, you have a -1, and you have a 3. Okay? Now, thinking about what's the furthest away from your n, 4 is the closest, obviously, but between a -1 and a division of 3, which one's further? So the example I use is, think about n as your apartment on a floor of the building. Okay? -1 is next door on the same floor, but 3 is below you on the floor below. So which one's further away? Well, technically space-wise, maybe 3 might be closer than 1 or -1, but you'd have to go all the way downstairs, like you'd have to walk further down to get to the 3 than you would have to go next door to the -1. So technically 3 is further away. So here, division of 3, to undo division, I need to multiply both sides by 3. Think of your cross canceling. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1, so you're left with 4n and minus 1 equals 5 times 3, which is 15. Now the furthest away is that -1. So undoing a -1 is adding 1 to both sides. So -1 plus 1 gives me 0, which is 4n left on the left side. 15 plus 1 is 16. And now the last step is to undo the multiplication of 4, where I need to divide both sides by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, so you're left with 1n, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. Okay? Now for our last example, it has a fraction in it. Okay? Now here, even though 4 now is downstairs, 3 and 4 are considered one number because they're a fraction times y. So actually those are closer than the 2. So the 2 is the furthest away from your y. So undoing the 2, you need to subtract 2 to both sides. So 2 minus 2 leaves you with this 3/4 y equals 17 minus 2 is 15. Now, undoing a fraction, think about the one-step equations that we talked about. We can either divide by 3/4 or we can multiply, which I find to be easier, by the reciprocal. And plus, since you're dividing, you have to multiply by the reciprocal anyway, so it's easier just to skip right to that step. So 3/4 times 4/3, remember this is over 1, gives me 12y over 12. And then 4 times 15 is 60 over 3. And then 12 divided by 12 is 1, so you're left with 1y. And 60 divided by 3 is 20. Okay? Have fun.